Welcome to the Haze podcast, where we clear the smoke around cannabis marketing. Join our host and president of Cannabiz Social, Peter Pilarski. Every 2 weeks, he speaks to cannabis professionals and entrepreneurs about their marketing and communication strategies. The Haze will uncover best practices, winning strategies, and favorite tactics for building successful and enduring cannabis brands.
Welcome to the Haze podcast. My name is Peter Pilarski, and I'm very excited today to be talking to Tanner Stewart from Stewart Farms. Tanner, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So Tanner is the founder and CEO of Stewart Farms, but that's actually not what we're here to talk to him about today, because Tanner is a very busy guy, and one of the things he also puts in his title these days is a co-executive producer for a really interesting show that will be launched. Really interesting movie, I should say, that'll be launched on October 10th called The Need to Grow. The movie was co-produced with Rosario Dawson, essentially its online global premiere is happening on October 10th. Before we get into what that movie is all about, I just wanted to pass on the URL, grow.foodrevolution.org. I encourage everybody to go to that URL and sign up to watch this exciting movie. So with that introduction, Tanner, why don't you tell us a little bit about The Need to Grow and why you're involved in it?
I'll just give a quick bio of the film as a whole, if you don't mind.
Yep.
So this film is a story of three environmental superheroes, as far as I'm concerned. So you have the mad scientist, Michael Smith. You've got the Clint Eastwood of urban farming, Eric Cutter, and you have a 7-year-old Girl Scout, Alicia Serratos. And we follow these three people's lives for over 3.5 years. This is what the movie is. This is not a movie of statistics and talking heads about what we can do. We follow the journey and the struggle of these three human beings for more than 3.5, almost 4 years. They all hit adversity. They all, have these major disasters essentially that occurs. And we couldn't have planned. This obviously wasn't planned. This happened in all of their lives. We started this journey out. Rob and Ryan were following 12 entrepreneurs and activists at the beginning of this journey, and it ended up 3 made it into the movie because they were the 3 most compelling stories, and they all intertwine as well. And this is the movie I watch to motivate myself to do better, because the 3 people that are in this movie are so inspirational. I'm a dad. I've got a 5 and a 3-year-old now, and Alicia starts this movie out. She's about 6 or 7 when the movie starts, and to watch her journey as such a young girl, and she basically takes on Girl Scouts America in this movie. That's a major part of her journey, and the free worldwide release. So I'm going to the LA premiere coming up here October 9th. Rosario Dawson, we love to know Rosario Dawson is the narrator of this film. He's amazing. Rosario Dawson is a environmental activist. She talks the walk and walks the walk. Getting her on board for this movie, that happened about 3 years after I came on board. Rob and Ryan were able to convince Rosario Dawson to come in and narrate this film, and it just adds so much to the story. But yeah, we decided to release it for free. I mean, this is really the crux of everything. It's a great film. Everyone should watch it. It'll inspire you. It'll give you fuel for your passion. And it's coming out October 10th to 15th. Worldwide, free online release. Please tell your friends, share it on Facebook, follow The Need to Grow on Instagram and YouTube, and you will not regret it. If you don't like the movie when you watch it between October 10th and 15th, I guarantee I'll give you your money back.
Nice. So to sign up to watch that movie, grow.foodrevolution.org. It's really important that you go to that URL and you sign up now so that you can reserve your spot to watch the movie on October 10th.
In a highly restrictive marketing environment, it's critical that your business gets the fundamentals right. Make smarter decisions by understanding what your competitors are doing or missing out on online. The Cannabiz Social Competitive Analysis will provide you with essential business intelligence, clearly highlighting what marketing activities your competitors are engaged in and how you compare. Visit cannabissocial.com/competitive analysis for more information and enter Clear the Haze into the promo code for a 10% discount.
With that introduction, Tanner, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Need to Grow and why you're involved in it?
So how I got involved with it was really through my journey into the green tech space as a whole. It was over 5 years ago, about 6 years ago, roughly now, actually. And I am still currently, and was at the time, had just become a small shareholder in a fertilizing technology company out of Montana called AACT, Aqua Algae Culture Technologies. And their technology, which was designed by a mad scientist, brilliant physicist, Michael Smith. And I just became completely enamored with this closed loop system that's anchored by this green powerhouse, which is essentially a greenhouse that has algae pools in its basin, and there's a biomass component where you're feeding waste biomass through what they call the dragon, which is where they pull energy and heat and gas off of waste wood or whatever waste biomass you would put through this unit, and it feeds the CO2 to the algae, and they take the algae and they produce a organic fertilizer amendment. So I was really enamored with this technology, and I was kind of leaning into that, and I was leaning into another company here in Alberta at the time called Nutriponic. So I was really getting into green tech as a whole. And Nutriponics is on the aquaponics vertical farming side, of course, which is what I'm doing today with Stewart Farms. But long story short, these two film directors, Rob Herring and Ryan Wyrick, had chosen Michael Smith as one of the topics or one of the entrepreneurs that they were following in their film called The Need to Grow. And Michael hosted a event down there and invited me down to meet these guys, and they were at the very beginning of this project. And like any good startup or any good entrepreneur, they were looking for some financial backing. And they had a sizzle reel, they called it, which was really just a rough trailer of what they thought they were going to make for a film. And we watched it. I met these guys, and Rob and Ryan, their pitch to me was, we're making a film about solutions. And that was pretty much it. I spent an hour with them. I watched the sizzle reel. I fell in love with the whole premise of a film about environmental solutions. And their comment to me was, have you ever seen The Inconvenient Truth? And, who hasn't seen The Inconvenient Truth? And that was really one of the original fear-mongering, we're all going to die environmental movies. They said, well, we're doing the opposite of that. We're going to frame the problems that there are, in this case, specifically around soil. The anchor of this film is around soil. That's really the environmental element of the film. But we're going to provide solutions. We're going to follow the lives of multiple entrepreneurs and activists and environmentalists, and we want to show people in North America and around the world that there is hope and that people are doing great things and that it's not all doom and gloom. So that was it for me. I jumped in, both hands and both feet, and just fell in love with that whole idea. I mean, I'm a generally very positive guy, so I'm like, all right, let's do a positive film. Let's do.
Nice. Yeah, I love that, and I love that it's solutions focused, because I think there's a lot of doom and gloom out there, but I know that people such as yourself at Stewart Farms is doing some really innovative, cool stuff that really is solutions focused, and you're living it and you're doing it. So I think the fact that you can showcase it through this film, not necessarily what Stewart Farms is doing, but solutions to these problems in general, is such a fantastic thing. So why don't we just talk a little bit for a couple seconds about Stewart Farms, because I know you're doing some really innovative stuff there as well, and it sort of has some loose ties to this movie. So why don't you explain to listeners sort of why Stewart Farms is different as a cannabis producer?
Yeah, well, it all starts with our farming fundamentals. So I tell people that I'm an indoor vertical aquaponics farmer. So now I need to unpackage that, because most people don't know what that means, and I don't blame them. What we're doing is fundamentally based on the farming methodology of aquaponics, which is the marriage of land-based fish farming and hydroponics farming. Or in our case, we're doing vertical hydroponics farming. So we're doing a multi-layer cannabis farm in St. Stephen, New Brunswick. It's going to be fully automated on the vertical racking side of things. And at max production, we're going to be producing over 10,000 kilograms of herbicide, pesticide, synthetic nutrient free, and therefore as organic as you can get cannabis, alongside 200 metric tons of organic tilapia. Tilapia is our species of choice for this particular land-based fish farm due to proximity to market. So where St. Stephen, New Brunswick is, it's right on the border of Maine. So it's 6 and 9 hours north of Boston and New York. So there's a massive live fish market in both of those cities. So we're really trying to service provide a high-end niche product to the Asian buyers in both Boston and New York via this organic live tilapia that we're going to put on the market. It all starts with the feed. So it really is a water sustainable system. We don't waste any water. Water goes into the fish tanks. We feed the fish organic fish feed. That's one of our biggest inputs in the whole system is the fish feed. So the sustainability journey for us as a company, and this is really the fundamental of what will continue to set us apart in the agriculture industry as a whole, and especially the cannabis industry as a whole, is that every decision we make, and this comes from almost the religion of aquaponics, because when you're an aquaponics farmer, you're by default in the mindset of, oh, this is a closed loop system. I'm going to farm fish. I'm going to use their waste to feed cannabis plants, and I'm not going to waste, or any plant. It doesn't have to be cannabis. I started in lettuce actually, and we're going to feed this living nutrient to our plants, and we're going to put the water. We're not going to waste any water. It's going to be very little water consumption. We're very energy focused. Where does our electricity come from? But every single thing we do, we ask the question, how sustainable is this? Our packaging, right? Is it biodegradable? Is it recyclable? Or is it compostable? Those are all three very different things. and they all have different intricacies to them. And it's really about, ultimately farming indoors. People might be able to say, well, hey, you're using a lot of energy because you're farming indoors, and that's not very sustainable. Well, that really depends on where your energy comes from. In New Brunswick, it's hydroelectric and nuclear. So our electricity consumption creates almost zero CO2 footprint, right? So it's not sustainability as a whole is a very big concept with a lot of very big intricacies buried into it. And you really have to look at at the whole entire picture to understand where you're going to fit in that sustainability position. But I mean that's really what aquaponics does for you by default, because you're coming from that ecosystem perspective. But I guess where I was going with this is that, you know, my part of the solution to protect soil, which is what this film is about. This film ultimately is about, you know, how many years of farmable soil do we have left? How important is the soil to the world, and what's in the soil? Well, I'll tell you, one handful of dirt has more microbes in it than people on this planet. There's billions of microorganisms in a single handful of, well, it's not dirt, it's soil. So soil without life is called dirt. You know, our part of the Stewart Farms part of the solution is to get us out of the soil, because we are growing indoors. So we're going to grow our cannabis indoors with minimal waste inputs. So we are not taking up any more room in the soil ecosystem. We're actually protecting soil by default of not using any more of it outdoors. And that's the same from the fish side. You know, it's very important that we get out of the oceans. It's very important. We are on a direct course. I mean, we're already in a disaster. I mean, it's not, the disaster isn't coming. The disaster is here. There's more plastic in the ocean than there are fish. Mariana's Trench has grocery bags. It's the deepest part of the ocean on Earth. I mean, and we haven't even started talking about anything else. Overfishing, ungodly collapse of every significantly sized fish species in the entire ocean. I mean, the oceans are a mess, and people, you know, out of sight, out of mind, out of sight, out of mind. So this is why it continues to be a mess, right? We can see everything going on top of the earth, but people don't see what goes on in the ocean. I mean, the ungodly amount of oil spills. So we're eating food out of this vat of garbage that we've created in the world. So we need to get out. I mean, this is my perspective. This is what drives me as an indoor vertical farmer who's doing land-based fish farming and farming plants indoors. I would rather use the electricity than the space, right? And provide consumers with a guaranteed herbicide, pesticide-free plant and a guaranteed plastic-free fish. And, you know, it's a horrible thing to even say. You know, we guarantee our fish are plastic-free. I mean, but this is it. This is where we're at.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I think there's just so many things you said there. We could probably spend literally an hour talking about it, but you know, we're so obsessed with CO2 and the air and all that stuff, which is important, but there's so much else going on. And I love that this film and what you're doing at Stewart Farms really hits, you know, that directly in terms of sort of tackling these issues. So that's fantastic. I think that's awesome. So we're going to wrap it up there. So Tanner, thanks so much. Really appreciate the time.
Thanks for listening to The Haze with Peter Pilarski. If you like what you heard, please leave us a review on iTunes or Spotify. And if you want to learn more, check out cannabissocial.com.